Today I'm going to be telling you guys how I got into the top 2 public universities in the world. So I got into both UCLA and UC Berkeley, and according to this top university website I saw, they're tied for number 1 on the top university website. Hopefully that's true, I just googled it, but basically I'm just going to be telling you guys how I got in, what exactly I did in high school, and what I submitted that made them want to accept me into those 2 schools. A little disclaimer, I don't know what exactly in my application stood out to make them want to accept me over other people, or what the admissions officers were really thinking when they read my application, but I will be telling you guys everything that I put down and submitted so that you guys have a kind of an idea of why they might have accepted me. First off, to apply to UCLA and UC Berkeley, you need to make an account with the UC school system, and then you apply through their website. And that's what I did. You only make 1 application and you send it to every single UC school that you're interested in. Today I'm going to tell you guys my stats, the activities I did, and the essays that I wrote and the prompts that I chose. So to get started, my stats. So in high school, I took 3 honors courses and 7 AP courses. My sophomore year, I took 2 honors courses. I took Honors English 2 and Honors Spanish 3. So I went pretty light my sophomore year compared to most people, I think. And then my junior year, I took Honors Chemistry and then 3 APs. So I took AP Spanish, AP English Language and Composition, and AP Calc AB. My senior year, which they won't see grades when you apply to UC schools from your senior year, but they will know what classes you're taking to see if you're still challenging yourself. I took 4 APs. I took AP Macroeconomics, I took AP Physics, AP Stats, and AP Psychology. My unweighted GPA is a 4.0, and that means that out of all my time in high school, I didn't get a single A-. So I had solid A's, 93% or above in all my classes. And then for this reason, I did not submit test scores because they were test optional. I wasn't trying to take the SAT, ACT if I didn't have to. They said that they're test optional, so I was kind of bargaining with that because I am class of 23. So test optional stuff is newer, but I took a gamble and I was like, my transcript looks as good as it can get, so hopefully they don't need to see a test score. I do recommend that if you had some years where you didn't do as good as you wanted to submit a test score, just because they can compare you to other people, and if you and another person have the same GPA, similar grades and stuff, but they took the SAT and did really good, that's going to give them the edge over you. So just keep that in mind. Oh, also, I'm getting over a cold, so if you guys hear me sniffling, that's why. So the UC GPA is calculated a little bit different than your school would. My school GPA this semester was 4.67, and my cumulative was 4.33, but the UC system is going to calculate it a little bit different because some courses that you'll take in your school aren't UC courses, or UC A through G requirement approved, whatever they call it. My capped UC GPA is the highest it could be, so I think the capped was 4.4, which means that considering your honors and AP classes, the UC system caps it at a point, the highest you can get, they cap it. But then there's also an uncapped GPA, which I think the uncapped one is taking 8 AP courses or extra point courses. But if you took more than that, your uncapped GPA will calculate for that. So my uncapped GPA for UC schools was a 4.55. Those were basically my stats. I'll make another video on how I managed to have all A's all of high school, because that was work. None of that was easy. But the next part I want to get into is the UC activities that I submitted. UC application allows you to submit up to 20 activities and awards combined. You don't have to submit all 20, but I decided to because I did a lot in high school, so I wanted to make sure I put everything that I did that was important to me in there. Then you also want to make sure that you list it in order of importance to you and kind of significance also. So I'll just get into my activities. So I created a documentary. So for this I put documentary director, producer, and the documentary was about people of color in predominantly white sports because I play lacrosse, and that's a really predominantly white sport. Unlike other predominantly white teams, my high school team was very diverse, so we made a documentary about that. The next thing I have on here is paid journalist. So I was a sports journalist for West Coast Preps, and they cover high school sport events. That's really all they do. We make little feature stories, articles. I ended up creating a podcast. So basically I was just a high school sports journalist, which is pretty cool, and I feel like not a lot of people can say that. And then I also worked with an organization called Impact Z. I was like a student leader for Impact Z. We gardened with little elementary school kids, and that was more like environmental based, racial justice based. I forgot I even did this. So I took a little summer course at Stanford for journalism, and I was an intern journalist for the summer, and I got to write articles that got published in the Stanford Daily. I was a Dragon Ambassador Captain, and it's basically the ambassador program at my school, you know, the people that give the tours. So I was a captain, which meant that I trained the other ambassadors that would be giving the tours and leading speaker events. I was also varsity lacrosse captain both my junior and senior year, and I played lacrosse since my sophomore year. I was Mathletes president my junior and senior year, was a paid counselor at a special needs camp. I was a teacher's assistant all throughout high school and middle school at my church, so like I taught little Bible lessons to kindergartners every third Sunday of the month. This one is an award, but an award or honor, and I was selected out of everyone out of my school. 8 students were selected to talk to this board of Catholic people, I guess, the Catholic board, and like to evaluate our school, and I was one of the 8 students picked out of 1,200. I was a Dragon panelist, which means when prospective families came to O'Dowd, there would be a panel of students that answered questions for them, and I was one of the students that would answer the questions. I was a CSF Active Life Member Award, which I completed 20 plus hours of community service every semester of high school while like getting a GPA of above 3.5, I think was the minimum requirement. And then another award and honor I got was Outstanding Achievement Department Award, and I got this my freshman year, and I got it in Spanish, math, and science. Now we're on to 15. But I was a hot meal student leader, so this is in Berkeley, and basically I just distributed and cooked hot meals for the homeless community in Berkeley, because if you know, Berkeley's homeless population is insane. And I started off just as a volunteer but got moved up to leader. So also another tip, make sure if you get any like promotions in these activities that you're being clear about it. Be clear about it. I was also a tutor at the Catholic Worker, and I tutored these 3 little kids from Honduras. And they're so cute. Another award I got is the 201 Club Award. My school requires us to complete 100 hours of community service, but because I completed over double of it, I got the 201 Club Award, which is basically just means you went above and beyond in service. I also got the Admission Office Service Award, and out of over 350 ambassadors my freshman and sophomore year, I was selected to receive this award. And this is before I became a captain, so when I was just an ambassador. And lastly, an extracurricular through my school was Dragon Pulse, and basically we surveyed our school a lot. Like every 3 weeks we would be on the quad with a table, and we would just have people fill out forms about O'Dowd, favorite teachers, just student life. The information we got from the surveys was sent to admissions directly, and they could spread out that information to prospective students so people could see like the raw and honest opinions of O'Dowd. Those were all 20 of my activities and awards. As you can see, that's a lot you can fit in, and by no means do you have to submit all. I know people that didn't put all 20 and still got into really good UCs. Alright, my camera started overheating, but I'm back. What I was saying, by no means do you have to submit all 20 or like fill all 20 of those spots. Just make sure that like they're cohesive with your application and what you write in your essays, which is the next part we're about to get into right now. I'm gonna read my PIQs. And if you don't know what a PIQ is, they're personal insight questions, and you submit 4 of them. You get to pick the 4 prompts you choose out of 8 prompts. There's a lot of different prompts. You guys can look on the website for that. I don't feel like saying all the different prompts, but I do know for a fact that one of the prompts is basically just write about anything. I'm going to be telling you guys the 4 prompts that I chose and reading out the essays. Alright, let's get into it. The first prompt I chose was, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. This is what I wrote. My sophomore year, I was one of 4 athletes of color on my lacrosse team. During the majority of our season, there was not a single person of color on the opposing teams. At practice, I was ostracized by the Caucasian girls on my team and began to feel out of place in the sport that I loved. But with more than half our team graduating, I saw an opportunity to deconstruct the toxic culture of women's varsity lacrosse. At the beginning of my junior season, I was selected to be varsity team captain. Surprisingly, the people of color on our team had increased to over 60%. With a leadership position on the team, I began creating a new foundation for my school's lacrosse program. I planned numerous team bonding events and hosted goal-focused team meetings wherein we created our team values, respect, dedication, and chemistry. As we all began to grow closer, our performance in games improved. By the end of the season, we were league champions, winning the championship game 23-9. While I resolved the racial divide within the team, discrimination continued. After a successful season, I was awarded First Team All-League. Even so, I received comments from other people of color that I should be talented at lacrosse since it's a predominantly white sport, as if my success was bare minimum. This spurred me to create more change. In collaboration with 2 other students, I created a documentary that features athletes of color on my team, in which we provide advice for younger generations and share our experiences playing a predominantly white sport. The aim of the documentary is to encourage young people to follow their passions without limitations. The documentary has been sent out directly to various Boys and Girls Club, Bay Area school districts, and over 40 recreational sports teams. It will continue to gain publicity through different social media platforms through our marketing efforts. With each day, I hope my documentary can continue to touch as many lives as possible in my community and beyond. Okay, now I'm going to be reading my next essay, and the prompt I picked was, every person has a creative side and it can be expressed in many ways. Problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically, to name a few. Describe how you express your creative side. So this essay I wrote is probably my favorite one. I had a lot of people review it and they really liked it because it's not what you would expect to read from the prompt that they give you. Here's the essay. 2nd grade. It was the first time I had straightened my frizzy curls. When I looked up at the mirror, I fell in love with the silky, straight hair that met my eyes. I had finally looked like the other girls at my school, so for years, straightening my hair became routine. By the age of 14, my natural curls were no longer lively and voluminous, but dry and brittle. While trying to fit in, I was damaging the biracial curls that linked me to generations of African American and Filipino descent. But the summer before high school, I decided to chop off the ends that had been burned from my straightener and begin my journey towards loving my natural self. I began to get creative and experiment with gels and curling creams, finding the perfect mixture suitable for my hair. I found enjoyment in discovering new products and techniques to perfectly achieve defined, moisturous curls. My curls began to form and take on the shape of a large cloud. But for the first time in my life, I was not embarrassed by the size of my hair nor the texture. From slick back ponytails to Dutch braids and high buns to mini twists, I fell in love with creating new hairstyles to express myself as a biracial woman. I began teaching myself how to box braid my thick hair and spent 12 hours carefully crafting clean parts and tightly braiding extensions into my real hair. I began to slick my edges down in swoops and swirls, big and small. Styles that I were told were too black became my favorite to recreate because they drew attention to who I truly was, an identity I was finally confident in. Now, when I glance in the mirror, I see the healthy curls that lie below my shoulders and a woman who has finally grown from that 2nd grade girl who was desperate to fit in. Every day, I change the way I style my hair, and every morning is a reminder of the pride I take in my identity. I love that essay so much. I love it. It's so good. Alright, next prompt is, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? In the word count, I used 315. Y'all don't care about the word count, it's fine. Out of the 50 plus clubs at Bishop O'Dowd High School, I chose mathletes. My friend group was populated with basketball players, cheerleaders, and football players, so my decision conjured laughs and nerd jokes. Regardless of the banter, I love math. I love exploring solutions and challenging myself to never be afraid to erase my work and try again. So I stuck by my decision and became president of the club in the fall of 2021 with the firm intention of diversifying the club in race and gender. Initially, I was hesitant to take on this role. Over time, this hesitation turned into a motivation to change the stigma around mathletes. I aimed to create a space where people could follow their passions fearlessly. Before I became president, the club contained 12 members, 9 of whom were male. When most people think of mathletes, they envision someone quiet or dorky. I challenge this narrative every day. I began to gather people with a clear gift for problem solving and mathematics, regardless of their social association. I reached out to my friends, athletes, or artists of all genders, and together we began to create a diverse community of young, bright minds. Beyond expanding mathletes, I listened to my teammates and found solutions that met their varying needs. For example, many felt intimidated by mathlete competitions, so I created an optional competition team. While all mathletes were able to practice problems at meetings, receive math tutoring, and attend math-themed parties, the optional competition team made people feel more welcome. All of the members succeeded, built community, and had fun while doing so. By the end of the year, there were 72 members, and the club diversified greatly in both race and gender. I've noticed my own peers begin to diversify their own lives as a result. One of my friends even decided to join the golf team and work on his swings every weekend, a hobby he used to hide from us. By boldly following my own passions, I was able to inspire others at my school to do the same. So, this essay, it's kind of corny, to be honest, but like with this process, you gotta get a little bit corny. I can't even lie. Like to apply or like to be appealing to the admissions officers, you gotta be corny. I can't even lie. Like you have to just really gas it a bit. Not gas it, but like put some enthusiasm in it. Show some personality, a little too much personality sometimes, you know. So this is my last PIQ, and the prompt I chose was the one that's the most vague and broad, and it's beyond what has already been shared in your application. What do you believe makes you a standout? What do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the University of California? The majority of my life has been spent around the disabled community, which has instilled a spirit of compassion within me that encourages me to constantly work towards serving others. My younger sister Michaela has severe ADHD, sensory processing disorders, and many behavioral challenges. For years, I defended my sister from elementary bullies and presumptuous comments. Every day, I made sure to eat lunch with Michaela and play with her on the playground, ignoring the snickers of the kids that walked by. At a young age, I denounced the ableistic environment that excluded my sister from the rest of society. Until attending the Johnny and Friends retreat, I thought that I would never find a community that allowed my sister to unapologetically be herself. The Johnny and Friends retreat is an overnight camp for families with children dealing with disabilities. Each camper receives a one-to-one aid while their families are able to relax and enjoy a time of respite. In an environment that accepted her, I watched her run around the grass, screaming loudly, a beaming smile on her face. After attending the retreat for 6 years as a sibling, I returned as a volunteer last summer. As an aide, I got to know Becca, a young girl with autism who loved to play mermaids and swim. She was obsessed with turtles and pancakes. Her imagination knew no bounds. She was more than her disabilities. Just like the community at Johnny and Friends, I am determined to dissemble the concept of ableism and work towards cultivating an environment that is accepting of people with disabilities, people like my sister. My heart longs to help the disabled community, and I will continue to dedicate my time volunteering at organizations like Johnny and Friends. Every laugh and smile I share with my sister reminds me that disabilities are not things to be ashamed of, but rather celebrated and embraced. In whatever career path I choose, I aim to create a welcoming community for people dealing with disabilities and to utilize my compassion to help others. And that is my last PIQ. And I think that one's probably the most important one to me. While it's not my favorite, it's the one that's most important and what I hope stood out the most to the UC admissions officers. The UC application, it's really holistic. Like, from watching this video, you guys probably know a whole lot about me and know that it's more than just stats and how many A's you got. While I did have straight A's, my activities and who I am and who I portrayed myself as in my essays had a lot of weight in this. I know people that got into Harvard but like waitlisted at UC Berkeley. So it's like, I don't know the college process. I don't really know like what goes into the admissions officers' heads, but this is exactly what I submitted, exactly what I wrote, and exactly what got me into UCLA UC Berkeley. If y'all learned anything from this video, make sure you just show who you are, make sure you show your real self, and make sure you show different facets, is that the word? Like different aspects of yourself. Another tip I have is to start early. I started mine in the summer, so I basically had 3-4 months to just edit my essays, make sure they were as good as I wanted them to before submitting them at the end of November. Don't trip, don't stress about the process. You guys are going to end up where you're meant to be, where you're meant to go. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, learned something, got inspired maybe. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and be blessed, y'all.